Welcome to the 5 at 5. Arsenal lose their first Premier League game of the season away at Newcastle in a 1-0 defeat. Plenty of aggro in the game, plenty of bite, plenty of controversy. And well, I had to delay the 5 at 5 by a day when I heard that there was going to be a club statement. And as you can expect, that's going to be spoken about. So let's get into my 5 at 5, starting with the club statement. So number one, the club statement. Let's get into it. I'm going to read it out. Arsenal Football Club wholeheartedly support Mikel Arteta's post-match comments after yet more unacceptable refereeing and VAR errors on Saturday evening. We'd also like to acknowledge a huge effort and performance from our players and travelling supporters at St James's Park. It wasn't a huge performance, let's be honest about that. The Premier League is the best league in the world with the best players, coaches and supporters, all of whom deserve better. PGMOL urgently needs to address the standard of officiating and focus on action which moves us all on, from retrospective analysis, attempted explanations and apologies. We support the ongoing efforts of Chief Refereeing Officer Howard Webb and would welcome working together to achieve the world-class officiating standards our league demands. Now, let's get one thing clear. You are never, ever going to stop the, as Arsenal say, the retrospective analysis and attempted explanations, etc. That's always going to happen, part of football. And, you know, we're never, ever going to get to a point in the game where people aren't going to be saying this decision was controversial. The perfect example of that is obviously in Newcastle's goal. Whilst you might one day be able to prove whether that ball went off the pitch or not, and you might be able to prove whether someone's offside or not, absolutely. But the Joel Linton on Gabriel incident, do you know what? So many people have got a different view on that. For me, I'm going to be really, really honest, that was absolute borderline. Sometimes when you're playing football, there's some moments where you have to figure out, is it worth me getting right on the borderline of a foul here? You know, the referee might give it, might not give it, but if there's a goal to score or a goal to be saved, you try and ride that line where it sort of could go either way, and ultimately neither of them will be a massive surprise if it goes one way or the other. Now, in the goal, firstly, it wasn't a clear and obvious error that was a push, because Gabriel's body language, he was already sort of leaning forward. No one can describe what Gabriel did in that moment as big, strong, commanding defending. I'm a big fan of Gabriel, but he should have kind of got up earlier and been a lot stronger in that incident. I know it's hard when you're ahead of the player, but still, you've got to read the situation there, look at who you're up against, Joel Linton, not exactly a small guy, and make more of a nuisance of yourself. But I felt like he was too easy to be dominated in that moment. Now, if the free kick was given to Arsenal, I'd be saying, yeah, I can totally see why it should be given, because there were hands out from Joel Linton, but they weren't aggressive. There wasn't a big push. It's not like Gabriel went flying. For me, football being a contact sport, that was Joel Linton straddling that line of what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. And let's be honest, every player does it multiple times a game. So I'm not looking at that goal with loads and loads of frustration. Like, don't get me wrong, it's annoying that when else have you ever seen a team with one goal conceded but 3 VAR checks? The annoying thing for me about that goal wasn't whether the ball went out of play. It wasn't about was he offside or not. It wasn't about the push. It was about actually was it a handball. But I have to admit, in all of the goings on at the time of that incident and when VAR checked it, I didn't even notice it was a handball. I was so focused on all the other elements of it. I mean, when we look at the first thing, was the ball out of play? You absolutely cannot say. Anyone remembers the goal that Japan scored in the World Cup? From one angle, it looks like it's in. From another, it looks like it's out. Absolutely, we don't know. We should have the technology to tell us whether the ball goes out of play. That should just be a given. When the ball's rolling along the ground, you know, sometimes it's easier, but often in a game, the ball will go up in the air. And at that point, how are you really meant to tell? Anyway, that's one thing they need to sort out. The offside, very, very frustrating. You know, I wish there were more angles that they could have used or whatever to determine whether it was offside, but a very, very tough call. But you know what? I frankly find the statement from Arsenal a little bit embarrassing, because you know what happened to Liverpool against Tottenham, where it was an absolute clear error. This one isn't an absolute clear error. It was, 3 VAR calls, all of them a little bit subjective. And actually, Arsenal were poor. One shot on target in the entire game. We were poor. And I think we need to look at ourselves and not come out with this sort of statement that looks like it's sour grapes after a defeat. Because let's be honest, if Arsenal had won 2-1 and that had happened exactly the way it did, but we got 2 injury time goals and won the game, we wouldn't have come out with a statement. It looks like we're bitter about the defeat. Frankly, not a big fan of it. I know I'm probably in the minority. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments below. But anyway, that was a very, very long number 1. Number 2, and this will be a lot shorter because this is not subjective and there's no disagreement here. The racist abuse directed at Bruno Guimaraes and Joe Willock. What a disgrace in this day and age. But what's even a bigger disgrace is that we're all so bothered about a VAR call that this one has barely made the headlines. It's just part of football that people hop onto social media and racially abuse players when something doesn't go the way of their football team. It's an absolute disgrace, and hopefully whoever it was, they get the book thrown at them and these fans get named and shamed, because do you know what? Over a football game to racially abuse people, I'm tired of this rubbish and the absolute lack of action on behalf of social media companies and football as a whole. It's a joke. Number 3, Eddie Howler. Whilst I'm trying to be very fair and objective about the VAR decisions and everything, one thing that was for sure, Bruno Guimaraes should have got sent off. He got a yellow card in the game, and what he did to Jorginho, where he runs up behind him and just barges him in the back, that is an absolute joke. That should have been a yellow. Never mind the arm to the face that he did earlier on in the game, which could have been a straight red, minimum yellow. Now, for Eddie Howe to come out after the game and say the only red card that should have been given in the game was Kai Havertz is an absolute joke. But let's just be honest here. Everyone has come out after this game and they've just backed their team. There's zero objectivity, zero honesty. Eddie Howe is talking rubbish. Arsenal are putting out a statement that to me stinks of sour grapes. But Eddie Howe, honestly, how could you, with a straight face, say Kai Havertz should have been sent off? That's obviously a yellow when your Bruno Guimaraes has blatantly got very, very fortunate. Absolute joke. Number 4, off target. So 14 shots against Newcastle, only one of those was on target. You know, this is happening more and more, and it starts to beg the question, do Arsenal need to add a striker in January? Ivan Toney is a name that gets bandied around a lot. And honestly, I think Ivan Toney is an absolute plonker. So much of the stuff that he's done has been disrespectful to Brentford and the fans. He's been a bit of a simp at times, saying dumb stuff on camera to impress women instead of backing his football team and showing loyalty. He's obviously in massive breach of all of these betting allegations and stuff that he's now suspended for. The guy seems like a bit of an idiot. In the past as well, he said, oh, I just play for a small club, you wouldn't have heard of him. Why say all of these things? All of the dumb stuff that he says and does makes me think, all right, do I really want him on the books? But I'm in no doubt that he will improve Arsenal's squad. Would you like to see Arsenal go and get a striker in January? Do you think that our lack of clinical edge is costing us, and is the striker the answer to that? And would you like it to be Ivan Toney? Let me know in the comments. Mikel's art of influence. Now, listen. This club statement, if we're going to be honest about it, after the game, how many people thought we would or that we should release a club statement? Not me. I didn't think we should, or I never thought it would happen. But you've got to ask yourself, why are we doing it? By us just moaning and putting out the statement, is it going to improve the standards? Are PGMOL really going to come and work with us or listen to us? Absolutely not. But let's cast our minds back to the ridiculous decision that Liverpool were on the wrong end of when Tottenham played them earlier this season. After that game, I can't remember whether it was a game after or the one after that, but they got a very, very fortunate decision. And it's obvious that a referee, if you make enough of a noise about something, is going to come and officiate an Arsenal game now and think, oh God, I really don't want more controversy. I really don't want to make a wrong decision because Arsenal are already annoyed and they've already made a lot of noise, and that will just make it even more of a big deal and put me in the limelight. Now, what we're trying to do here is influence the officials. I don't think for a second that Arsenal are being really sort of honest about what they're doing here. We're just seeking to influence. We've got Burnley next at home and then Brentford away after that. Watch out in those games for a decision that goes Arsenal's way, because I think this is all that it's about. And even Eddie Howe, the fact that he's saying, oh, it should have been Carl Havertz who got sent off. All it is managers seeking to influence. It's a massive, massive part of the game. And Arsenal have really upped the ante. Obviously, these VAR calls didn't go our way, rightly or wrongly, sort of irrelevant in the situation. All you're seeking to do as a club is to try and create that movement within the team that, look, nothing's going our way, they're all against us, and motivate the team that way, and also put loads and loads of pressure on the officials. That's how I see it. Hopefully it works. Thanks for watching the 5 at 5. As usual, please do get involved in the comments below. Let me know all of your thoughts. I appreciate many of you are not going to see it the way I saw it, but I'm always just going to be honest about my take on the game. Let me know in the comments below. I'll see you next time. Take care. Free Palestine.